pictures or it didn't happen. This was my friend's response when I told them what I had just done. Jumped out of a moving plane at 13,000 feet. I don't blame my friends. You see, until recently, every time I felt my big feelings, it was impossible not to cry. Somewhere along the way, my parents had found out that they had been blessed by a big, beautiful baby girl who would cry frequently, incessantly, and inconsolably. This was a trait that followed me from my childhood into my early adulthood. Now, in many African homes, crying is considered a weakness. So you can imagine the number of times I heard the phrase, "Stop crying, or I will give you a reason to cry." The thing with these narratives and these labels is that if you hear them long enough, they start to define you. This label, combined with devastating loss of my father, would be the perfect recipe fueling a narrative filled with people-pleasing, imposter syndrome, and dimming my light so that I could fit in and survive. This narrative brought with it a silent ache, a longing for more, compounded by the knowledge that I was made for more. I couldn't imagine turning 60, and this was all I had to show for it. So I started to do some self-work, trying to read around outside my specialty, listening to the occasional podcast, scouring around on social media, looking for people whose profiles looked interesting, and unknowingly, I started to rebuild. So fast forward to 2022. I was severely burnt out, exhausted, unfulfilled, high functioning on autopilot. I was also dealing with some news that I had heard that was devastating about a treasured family member's health. I had been working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day at a time for months on end, and yet my boss had just told me that I was not visible enough. So I remember sitting in the car, crying and pondering on the question, is this really it? And then there it was, the opportunity to cut through the fear, the rare chance to make a change in my career, to take on the unconventional role. No one that I knew from my side of the world had ever done something like this. So I had a decision to make, to choose to venture into the unknown, not clear what my career path was going to be, or to stay in the safe, comfortable, and predictable space that I was used to, the operating room. I am privileged to have a few wise owls around me, and their message was consistent. You have done the time, it is time, and there should be no dissonance. So I did the wise thing. I did the brave thing and faced my fear head on. No one prepares you for the emotions that come with choosing the path less trodden. Grief, the least expected emotion, had the strongest presence. I grieved the person that I was while embracing the person I was becoming. I was finally free. Free of all the narratives that had weighed me down for decades, and free of all the labels that had stolen opportunity away from me. This freedom came with the curiosity, with the ability to fail forward, and ability to do things afraid. A whole new and different world was waiting for me to explore it. Now, if I had told anyone that I was going skydiving, I can assure you those pictures would not be there. Skydiving was more than a leap for me. It was a defining moment. I jumped so that I could fly, and fly I did. The views, stunning. The feeling, exhilarating. The aftermath, freeing, and the dawn of a new beginning. I went from being a young and timid, introverted anesthesiologist, engrossed in the world of anesthesiology, comfortable but also sad sitting behind the proverbial curtain, to leading global safety initiatives at the world's largest cleft-focused charity. My first speech on the global stage, you have earned your place in the room. And for the first time, made sense. The pride that I felt representing our continent, Africa, proved to me exactly what I had known all my life. I was made for more. I was the one. Every 3 minutes, a child with cleft lip and/or palate is born. And yet these cleft-affected people are often forgotten, isolated, stigmatized, neglected, and labeled as outcasts. These children are very close to my heart because I know firsthand the damage that can be done by these unfounded labels. And left untreated, cleft has very dire repercussions, worst case scenario being severe malnutrition and death. I serve over 100,000 cleft-affected children across the world annually, and my job is to make sure that they have access to safe and high-quality care wherever it is in the world they are, regardless of their vulnerabilities. And this means speaking up to make sure that Africa is not just present, but heard at the decision-making tables, but also that Africa-friendly policies are formulated in the anesthesia and surgical space. Mine is a story of learning and unlearning, tearing down and building back up and doing hard things well. A wise person once told me, you cannot be what you cannot see. And so, I have decided to be the person who takes up space, is visible, and to be the person that I needed when I was in the trenches. I still cry a lot, but I have learned that there is strength in my tears and that I am allowed to feel my feelings. Each of us has those labels, and we have a choice to make. What will you do with that label? The only way we transform Africa into the continent we deserve and the continent we desire is to start with inner transformation. What leap will you take to transform the world? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Elizabeth Igaga, the captain of my own ship and the maker of my own fate.